Let's talk about it. Virus, worm, Trojan. You hear these words thrown around all the time, right? And a lot of the time, they're used like they're the exact same thing. But they're not. They are fundamentally different kinds of threats, and we're going to dive in and clear up all that confusion.
So, I'll ask you straight up. Can you, right now, confidently explain the real difference between a virus, a worm, and a Trojan? If you're hesitating, don't worry. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you are going to be a pro at telling them apart.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to start with the big picture. What even is malware? Then we'll get into the specifics of the computer virus, the network worm, and the Trojan horse. And to wrap it all up, we'll put them head to head in a final comparison so the differences are totally crystal clear. All right, first things first, we gotta start at the top. What exactly is malware? You can think of it as the giant, shady umbrella that all other malicious software huddles under. The term malware is really just a mashup of malicious software. That's it. It's the catch-all name for any piece of code that's been designed to mess with your systems, steal your data, or just generally wreak havoc by finding and exploiting weaknesses. So a virus, a worm, a Trojan, they're all just different flavors of malware.
Okay, let's zoom in on our first character, the computer virus. And I love this description for it, the parasite, because it perfectly captures exactly how it works. See, a computer virus is this sneaky bit of code that can't live on its own. It has to latch onto a host, some other legitimate program, like an executable file. It's totally dormant until you run that host program. But the moment you do, the virus wakes up and starts spreading.
So how does it actually do that? Well, it's a pretty simple two-step dance. Step 1 is the search routine. The virus's code starts scanning your system, hunting for new, clean files to infect. Once it finds a victim, it moves to step 2, the copy routine, where it literally injects a copy of itself into that file. And boom, the cycle starts all over again.
All right, next up is the network worm. And its nickname tells you everything you need to know, the propagator. This thing is all about one thing, spreading itself as far and as fast as it possibly can.
And here's the absolute key difference from a virus. A worm is a standalone program. It's an independent operator. It doesn't need a host program to attach to. It can duplicate itself and use computer networks to wiggle its way into other machines, all without any help from a human. And if you want to see just how scary fast a worm can be, just look at WannaCry. This thing was an absolute monster. It tore across 150 countries in a single day. It infected more than 230,000 computers, locking up all their data and demanding ransom payments. And it did all this by exploiting a vulnerability in old, unsupported versions of Windows. It's a terrifying example of how one worm can cause pure global chaos. And that brings us to our third and final piece of malware for today, the Trojan horse. A perfect name for it, the deceiver, because just like in the old Greek story, its entire strategy is built on trickery. A Trojan horse is all about deception. It pretends to be something you actually want, maybe a free piece of software, a cool game, or it might be hiding in an email attachment that looks totally safe. The point is, you are tricked into letting it in the front door. You download it, you run it, and only then does it reveal its true nasty purpose. So what is that nasty purpose? Well, it's pretty simple and pretty scary. Their main goal is to create backdoors into your system. Think of it like they're propping open a secret door that lets a cybercriminal sneak in later to steal your information. That's the key. Okay, we've met the whole gang. Now for the main event. Let's line them up side by side and really nail down the differences once and for all. Okay, this chart lays it all out. Look at that last column. Needs a host? The virus is the only one that gets a yes. It's a parasite. It has to attach to a file that a user runs. Now, the worm, totally different. It self-propagates, spreading all by itself through the network. And the Trojan, it doesn't need a host file either, but it does need you. It spreads by tricking you into running it. And I really want to drive this one last point home, especially when you're comparing a virus to a Trojan. A virus replicates. That's its whole mission in life, make copies of itself and spread to more and more files. A Trojan, on the other hand, doesn't replicate at all. It has one job and one job only. Get installed, open that back door, and let the criminals in. So there you have it. You can now officially spot the differences between these original gangsters of the malware world. But here's a little something to chew on. These are the classics. The game has changed.
So how has malware evolved since then into things like ransomware and spyware? Well, that's a deep dive for another day.